This definition of sales will make your job and your life easier. So Hormozi tweeted that sales is the transfer of belief over the bridge of trust. And it's important to note here that everybody is always selling. We sell each other on where to eat, how to spend our time, and what to believe. We all do it, so let's stop wasting time on sales hacks and focus on what's important. By the end of a sales call or personal interaction, they will either make you believe that they don't need it, or you'll help them believe that they do. And it all comes down to who has more conviction and who understands the situation best. The goal is to help them make a decision, not get them to buy stuff. Believe in your product strongly enough to inspire others to do the same, and build trust with people by showing them you understand their pain through great questions, finding common ground to build rapport, and truly being on their side. Realize that sales is just building trust with people and giving them something you truly believe in and you truly believe will change their life, and it'll change the game for you too. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about when it comes to sales is really believing in the product. And there are a couple ways to believe in the product, but I want to start with telling you guys a story. So for me, I was applying for jobs, sales jobs. I'm pretty good at sales. I'm pretty good at talking. I need some closing help. I need to ask better questions for sure. I could go through some training there, but ultimately, I think I close people on a lot of stuff. And most things I just don't care to close people on because I don't care about that thing. And those things can include insurance products or marketing services that I don't really believe are aligned with my long-term goals. And I was in a job interview for a marketing position, and she was like, yeah, you're really good naturally. Your closing technique needs work because you were trying to speak to a close instantly as opposed to doing discovery and asking questions, and it kind of took you out of control of the conversation, right? That was her critique of me. But really what it comes down to is, what's your conviction level? Because I need people who are convicted, who really believe in this product. And what would you say your conviction level is about the product? And it was a marketing product and, marketing services to small businesses. And I was like, honestly, I'm a 6. Like, I do not believe in the product. And that was because marketing had never changed my life. That wasn't the way I felt called to change people's lives. It wasn't aligned with anything I wanted to do. And because I didn't believe in it, I could not sell it. Think about a person who has cancer. And because they had cancer and they're obese, or they had diabetes, or just some extreme health issue. And when they got that health issue, they started eating apples every day. Now that they eat apples every day, a year later, they don't have the health issue. And it's directly tied to apples. How would that person feel about apples? Every person who was sick, they would be buying apples for that person. And that person would then buy apples from them at a higher price. Like, that's literally how business works. It's like, I'm going to spend money to produce this thing for you, and it will be more valuable to you because of your situation, and you will pay more for it, and I will take the profits home with me, and then I'll create systems and processes around that. And that all comes from belief in the product, belief that you are actually making a change in somebody's life. Because when you're transferring belief over the bridge of trust, you need that belief. And that belief comes from personal experience with a product or service, or testimonials, right? Maybe you've just given apples to a lot of sick people and they've gotten healed. And over and over again, you've changed somebody's life. And maybe you've never changed your life, but you've changed another person's life over and over again. I think that emotion that comes from changing people's lives is enough to give you belief in the product. So that when you see somebody with that specific problem who needs your specific solution, you are convicted. And you can transfer that as soon as you build trust. So belief in the product comes from personal experience and testimonials. Make sure it's aligned with where you've been and where you're going. And then make sure that the testimonials support what you're delivering. And I think that reinforces belief in the product, because you'll keep getting dopamine every time you get a good testimonial, or every time it reinforces a personal experience, or you see somebody else have a personal experience. It'll strengthen that belief in the product. The next thing you need to do is, once you have that belief, you got to have that bridge of trust that you can transfer it over. And this really is questions. A lot of people like to talk and think sales is like some gimmick where it's like, I'm going to do the option close on you, or I'm going to really make sure I am colorful in my pitch, or I'm going to really close you hard by introducing scarcity and urgency. And all those things work. Scarcity works, urgency works. Having a really good pitch works. The option close works. All these closing techniques work. But questions to understand and then doing a couple things to get to a certain point is really what works in sales. Because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And it's, I trust you to be here for me, to know me, and to solve my problem. So when you ask questions to understand, the goal is to make them feel understood. And there are a couple ways you can do that. You can mirror people. So if they're talking fast, you talk fast. If they're talking slow, you talk slow. If they're smiling, you're smiling. If they're frowning, you frown, or you mirror their emotion. You mirror their words. You mirror their gestures. If their legs are crossed, you cross your legs. You can mirror them. Mirror their words, mirror their actions, mirror their behaviors. You can label this. I got all this from Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. So you can go read that book, and he'll go in depth on this a lot more, but you mirror people. And specifically in the book, he talks about repeating the last 4 or 5 words that they said. So if I'm talking and it's like, I'm really trying to buy this yacht because I want to have a good life for my family. You would go, have a good life for your family? Like, yeah, I want to have a good life for my family because we've always had this dream of being on a yacht across the ocean, being able to sail to Europe and all around the world. And it was just going to be a really cool experience. And I promised my daughter that would happen when she was 2. You know, promise your daughter that would happen when she was 2? It's like, yeah, we were doing this, and we were at SeaWorld, and she was like, water, and I was like, yacht, and then I was like, promise, and then boom. And I'm like, boom? And it's like, yeah, boom. And so that's why this yacht is so important to me. Then you go, it seems like, and this is where you label. So that was mirroring. Then you get into the labeling. It seems like you really love your daughter and want to keep your promise to her. Yeah, that's right. And so in Chris Voss's book, he's like, the goal is to get to that's right, because you want the person to indicate that they feel understood. So when you mirror them, it gives them the space to keep talking, to keep talking, to keep talking. And then when you feel like you understand, every now and then after 3 or 4 mirrors, you label what just happened so that they know you were listening. And they can either go, that's right, or no, not quite, and they'll explain a bit more, and then you mirror, 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 label. Mirror, 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 label. And that's the kind of asking questions to understand, and eventually you get to a point where they're like, that's right. You understand what I'm saying. And when you get a person there, you can pretty much influence them to do anything because you've built that bridge of trust. And so as long as you have conviction, you have shown them that you have understanding. So when you take that understanding and you match it with conviction, I mean, you can get a lot of people to do a lot of stuff. It's honestly kind of scary what you can get people to do, but that's humans, that's people, good, bad, it depends on who you are and how you use it, right? The other thing is just building rapport. So part of building that bridge of trust is asking great questions to understand, the mirroring, the labels, getting to that's right, but building rapport is that like part. So questions to understand is the trust part, the rapport is that like part. And really it's mentioning similarities and mirroring not just their words, but their emotions. So it's like, the dude was like, yeah, my daughter who's 2, I promised her this. It's like, oh, I promised my daughter when she was 2 that we'd go to Disney World. And we just did that last week. And let me tell you, everything you're imagining is true. And that's exactly why I want to help you get this yacht, right? Like that, you just connect on that emotional level and mention similarities and help them kind of play it out in their head, because ultimately you want to take people to where they want to go. So you figure out where they want to go, and then if you can help them get there, do it, because you're here to serve, which brings me to my last point. Be on their side. This isn't, I'm trying to sell you the yacht. This is, I want you to make a solid, informed decision based on what you want in life. And if based on my questions to understand and my rapport building, I come to the conclusion that this yacht isn't best for you, I want you to go do what's best for you because I'm on your side. Do not be somebody that's just trying to extract from every relationship, every conversation you have, but be somebody who's trying to give. And that really looks like questions to understand, to build trust, rapport, to get that liking, and then transferring that conviction of either you need to do this or you don't need to do this based on your expertise with the product. That's being on somebody's side, and we all do it all the time. I just talked about huge in a business context, but the same thing happens with a spouse, and I'll wrap this up with a quick story. Back when my wife and I were dating, So we weren't engaged yet. We were just dating. We were arguing about physical intimacy and Christianity. It's hard. I wanted one thing. She wanted another thing. I was definitely in the wrong. Regardless, we don't have to get into all those details. But we do have to get into this one conversation we had. And we were really struggling. It was a hard night. And we were fighting about it. And I'm not an emotional guy. So I was just kind of like annoyed. Not emotional. She was emotional. And I had just read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, and I implemented some of these tactics. And I don't think I was trying to sell her on something per se, but I was selling her on me in that moment, on being happy with me in our relationship again. So I was selling her on the relationship. And I literally didn't say one word outside of mirroring and labeling. And every time she would finish a sentence, I would repeat the last 3 to 4 words, last 3 to 4 words, last 3 to 4 words, last 4 to 5 words, label, not quite, last 3 to 4 words, repeat, last 3 to 4 words, repeat, label, mirror, mirror, label. That's what I did for the whole I literally didn't say one other word. And there were plenty of points where I was like, yeah, I disagree here. I think this, I think that. I could have said that. But I mirrored, labeled. Mirrored, labeled. And in the beginning of the conversation, we were completely separate. By the end of the conversation, she had come to cuddle with me. And we were all feeling good again. And I really wasn't feeling any different. And I wouldn't even say I was feeling empathetic necessarily, but she felt heard. And that's an interesting thing because I've always struggled with feeling empathetic or sympathetic or whatever it is. See that? Whatever it is. But, and a lot of people are probably similar. Most likely a lot of guys. And just because you don't feel it doesn't mean you aren't responsible to being it and doing it. So if you know the tactics and know the techniques, go to God, ask Him to work on your heart. But in the meantime, choose to love people by asking great questions, showing them you understand with labels, getting to the that's right before you say your piece. And honestly, never say your piece. People really aren't concerned about your opinion. And when you're on somebody's side, you don't insist on your own way. So, gonna wrap up with that story. Because we talked about selling in business, but that's one way of selling in your personal life. Every day we're selling, continue the relationship with me. Continue walking through life with me. Continue this, continue that. And a way we can do that is constantly reinforcing that bridge of trust, constantly getting them to like us through building rapport, and then transferring our conviction in the right moments to that person so that they know we're on their side because we're trying to get them to where they want to go. That's what I got for you guys. That's all we got today on the show. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you on the next one. And remember, we are a community of people judged not by our wealth, but by our impact.